Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio Railworld. In the previous episode we were running around fixing all the belt ends and various things like that, getting everything ready for the 0.12 update. And there's a couple of things left to do. There was a belt that I got backwards. I've now sorted that out, so that should be fueling the trains properly. I'll quickly make sure that the trains in question have enough fuel to make their trip to the Mega Copper outpost and back, because it is quite a long journey. You want to make sure that they are well supplied for it. But all of the coal fueling stuff should now be fine in the circuit outpost. Pretty happy with that. And then we're going to go over and put a couple more efficiency modules into all of the furnaces that we've got in the outpost. We've still not got all of them covered, but we're getting there, and it's taking a while for us to actually build up the supplies because the module system is a little bit overworked at the moment. It's trying to make a lot of level 3 modules, and that's making it difficult to get anything done. I also have a second check round of the belts because there were a couple I missed the first time around. You notice there was one for steel that wasn't particularly important, and then there's this one that feeds iron into the belt into the pipe production, which is very important because there have been no engines being produced over here, and all the chests were empty. So that's running again, and that should be all right now. And as far as I know, I think there's like one other belt that I find later on in the oil outpost, but there's nothing else that I notice now, and I think it's all covered. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, we're just about to finish the rocket silo research. Once we do that, we can actually start on setting up our own little space program. I'm just checking up on the... oh, there it goes. I was just checking up on advanced circuits, seeing how it is. And at the moment, they're all running and not supplying things quite enough, but the supply to them seems to be enough, so we might be putting in some more advanced circuits later. But anyway, I'm checking up on all the recipes and stuff, working out what's needed for what. And then we're going to start setting up some rocket production. We're going to decide on our position. And basically I'm just going to plonk it down over here. There shouldn't be anything expanding into this area because there's module production below. Though there is always the possibility in future of increasing module production. It's probably fine, particularly now that the end game doesn't require modules so much. It's probably not that vital to have lots of module production, so I'd never be doing like the rocket defense per hour challenge or anything now. Anyway, I'm deciding on the configuration for the assemblers that will feed into the rocket silo once it's made. Not really. I'm being very indecisive about how to sort it out. Eventually, I decide on having a requested chest that everything goes into. It all gets unloaded into the two assemblers, and then it all goes back into a provided chest above. At the moment, that's requested, and I'll fix that momentarily. So we get everything being requested, and we switch that to a provided chest. We'll put the power somewhere that doesn't get in the way of anything, and then we'll also have this requested chest requesting the rocket fuel, because that's going to be brought in from outside. So that's going to go into that requested chest and then immediately hop into that provided chest. And of course I'm going to realise later that that won't work because it'll create an endless loop of rocket fuel being delivered back into the requested chest. So we'll have to deal with that later, but for now we'll just let the production of the low density structures and whatever they're called, rocket steering thing, the navigation circuits, I have no idea what they're called. It's not particularly important, I guess. But yes, now we'll go over to the oil outpost and sort out the rocket fuel, and then we'll have the sort of 3 core items that you need for spaceflight stuff, and then from there we can make the satellite, the rocket silo, and the rockets themselves. So I need to work out where to build it. I've already built a chemical plant that makes the solid fuel, but I've decided that I want to move it a little bit closer to the plastic train, because I've decided that that's what is going to get the rocket fuel back into the main base. It's all going to be made on site and then delivered in, and the plastic train does have some spare space in it yet, so that should be fine. It's become quite the multi-purpose thing, really. It's delivering all sorts of different items. It's got coal and plastic and sulfur, and now it's got rocket fuel as well. Though later on it'll probably stop delivering coal. I'm not sure. I'm still not decided on how I'm going to deal with the situation when the coal supply runs out in the oil outpost. Anyway, I've set up the train to have 5 slots for rocket fuel. Unfortunately, I've ended up with a bit of random stuff in my inventory, but we'll sort that out later. And what we're going to do now is move up the production to right by the train, so we don't have to belt it all over the place. We can just have a couple of pipes, and that'll be fine. It will have to cross under the tracks. I could probably have set it up better, but I just found a decently open area and plonked down the system. As long as we have one of the chemical plants feeding into an assembler, it'll all work out fine. And conveniently, the ratios of production time match up so that it takes, I believe, 3 seconds to make the solid fuel, and then 30 seconds to make the rocket fuel, and it requires 10 solid fuel, so it all works out nicely. We've built up a supply of solid fuel anyway, because if we do run into any trouble with oil later, then we'll want to have a bit of a supply backed up. And it does look like we need a bit more oil production sorting out fairly soon, just because it's been a long time, and I've noticed that, like, I think heavy and light oil tanks are always empty or nearly empty, and I think even petroleum gas is running down now. So we'll look into getting some new oil production coming in soon. We'll try and find some really big oil deposits somewhere around the lake. I imagine there'll be one somewhere, or maybe we'll just sort of extend the reach of our central rail network a little bit more. Just checking up on the coal while I'm waiting for stuff to happen, waiting for some rocket fuel to be produced, and for the oil train to come back. It looks like not all of the miners are running, which is always good, though there's an annoying thing about belt balance where everything's on one side and there's nothing moving on the other side. So we might end up with the supply continuing until suddenly there's just 2 miners left or something like that. I'm not really sure. We'll just wait and see. There's still plenty of coal left, so it might still be quite a while before we need to worry about that. What we do need to worry about is this attack. Mega Copper 1 has been attacked, and I think this is the first time that's ever happened. So I think next time we go into Mega Copper 1, we'll have to have a look at the situation, see if the biters have been advancing, and if so, push them back. Because I think that is a sign that the biters are starting to recolonize the area that they were in previously, that I cleared them out of to start making the tracks around the lake. Anyway, we've made our way back to the main base. What I'm doing here is sort of bodging the system a little bit, because the provider chest, you can't put filters in it, but I want there to be 10 slots for each of the 3 core components of rockets. So what I've done is filled in the slots with one of each item, which is not a very clever way to do it, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's some way that you can do it now with circuits, with the circuit system or something. Anyway, I've realised that we have the whole problem with the loop between the provider chest and the requester chest, so I switch it to a steel one. Still can't put in any filters, so I'm just having one of each item, and it'll work well enough for our requirements. But yeah, I imagine there's something you can do with combinators that lets you fix that. If even that, you might just need just some wires and a smart inserter or something. I don't really know. It's something that I'll get round to learning at some point. Anyway, over at the advanced circuit production, I've decided to increase the production rate because we need quite a few modules to get, well, actually not that many modules to get the system going, but at the moment our module production is not enough to supply our needs, because with level 3 speed modules being made, all the level 1 speed modules are being used up as soon as they're created, and don't have a chance to get over to the navigational computer assembler or whatever they're called. So what I'm going to do is just set up a bunch more advanced circuits to help with that supply, and it'll just be a general improvement to the system, so that we can support more module production in the future, because we've always had a bit of a problem with the modules where they could be going faster, and the limit is usually circuits or advanced circuits. At the moment, the circuit supply is alright for the advanced circuits, but I imagine after this work it's going to be broken, because I'm not just adding in one more array of them, I'm going to almost double it, and make it symmetrical by adding in all the remaining ones above this one that I've just put in. So I decided to do this with logistics bots. I'm getting more and more comfortable with using them, so I'm just happy to make a blueprint for like a one-use thing. And I just checked that it all works out fine, because of course I've not done any sort of blueprinting like this before, where we have assemblers with the recipes already in and stuff, but that all works out fine. And the only thing that I need to do is put in some modules, though unfortunately we do have a bit of a problem where a bunch of standard circuits end up on the line, because the some of the assemblers were put in last, and as it turns out the long-armed inserters going into the assemblers line up and mess it all up. So we've just had an attack on oil 3. Something actually got blown up, and I believe it was a wall. I forgot to check the alarm at the time. People keep telling me off for that, because I'd know a lot more about what was going on with my my outpost if I checked what was being blown up when an alarm goes off. But by the look of the location, I think it was a wall. So, I mean, that is a bit of a danger because it means that any future biter attacks can just flood in through the gap now. So we will need to go up there at some point and make sure it's all fine. Or maybe we should just decommission Oil Outpost 3 at this point. I don't think it does very much. I imagine all of the things are depleted at this point. I do need to look into putting in some modules in some of the pump jacks that we have back home, I think, to help with the oil supply. As well as looking to settle new areas to have oil trains coming in from. So, the advanced circuit production has nicely upgraded, and also we had a little bit of a lag spike there. I'm not sure what that was, but it's probably fine. It did cause a little bit of audio desyncing, though. You may notice towards the end of the video that the sounds start to lag behind the visuals, and I think it was something to do with that freeze there. But anyway, the advanced circuit supply is now going a lot better. I think it's starting to build up, and the standard circuit supply is going rubbish. It's dying, so we'll have to go and work on that now. I was just checking up on the recipes there for the rocket silo, because I think it's time we start working on that. And the rocket silo itself doesn't actually need any of the space equipment, I don't think. It just requires a load of other random stuff, well, it does include concrete, so there is some new stuff involved, but it doesn't use any of the low density structures or the navigation computers, or indeed rocket fuel, because it's just the silo itself, and the rocket fuel will go into making the rockets. Though the satellite does require a bunch of the space equipment. So anyway, I start setting up a requester chest to gather together all the materials needed, and I make a bit of a mistake with this, because when the recipe for the rocket silo was introduced, a new feature came along, meaning that you could store more of an item in a assembler. So usually you can only have stacks of, I think, it's 100 steel. But because the recipe requires 1,000 steel, assemblers now have to support stacks larger than you would normally be able to have. And so it can support 3,000 steel, because that's 3 times the 1,000 steel needed. And I made the mistake of requesting 3,000 steel for the recipe. I forgot that you don't actually need the full 3,000. And then we go with another attack, this time over at Iron Outpost 2. It's getting a little bit worrying now. We've had attacks on 3 different locations in the space of like 10 minutes. Well, half an hour, if you consider the normal time. But we don't usually have that much biter activity. And I guess you could blame the 0.12 or 0.12. Some people have been getting confused by my pronunciation. But the new update may have made the biters a little bit more aggressive, because often when there's some sort of little change to the biters, they'll start attacking different locations than they were before for whatever reason. And so it's always a good idea to be on guard when you go into a new update, because the biters might start attacking somewhere that previously they could have attacked but weren't for some reason, and so you didn't bother to defend properly. I've had that problem before, where some place that I've just not bothered to defend has suddenly been ransacked by some updated biters. So yeah, that might be what's causing it. It's something to do with the new biters, the behemoth biters, as I've now been told they're pronounced. I think I said that right. Behemoth. That's it. Behemoth. That was what everyone was saying. So anyway, I'm getting distracted here. What's happening on the screen is that I'm upgrading the circuit outpost, which I've not done in a very long time. I don't know whether it can really support it, to be honest. At the moment it looks like the iron supply wasn't enough anyway, but we needed more circuits in order to keep up the supply for advanced circuits and other stuff. So I decided to upgrade it anyway, so that if it was possible for more to be crafted, it could be. And it looks like we'll have to do something about the iron situation. Anyway, I've put a bunch more modules into all of the furnaces here. There is only one furnace now that doesn't have modules in. I ran out just before I could finish that one off. So we'll have to grab just a couple more to fill that one in too. I'm checking up on the iron situation. It looks like it's actually being unloaded quick enough. And I realise that the problem is in the smelting, which is not what I expected. So that's what we'll work on next. We'll add on some more smelters. This means we will need some more level 2 modules on top of the 2 that we needed anyway. So we'll expand this up. We'll add on another 8. And we'll see what that does. Originally, when I was setting up the furnaces for this, I was doing it based on ratios of of ore and things, but it seems to have turned out weird now because the copper supply is fine and the iron supply is not, even though I thought I'd got the ratios right. I don't know whether I gave one a little bit more than the other or something like that. But I think I'm just going to play it by ear, because that's my usual sort of preferred method with this stuff. It's how I work on the power system and things like that. I just look at what's needed and supply as needed. So the iron starts getting through the system again, and I've still got the system in place that loops it back round and sends it onto the circuit train, because sometimes we can have some iron troubles back at main base, so I thought it would be a good idea for the circuit train to deliver any surplus iron back. It's not perfect though, because the iron belt is not built up. I think it's getting to all the inserters and stuff, but with the supply not being constant and the belts not being completely full, it's not perfect. I'll have to see about... I'll just have to look at that later and see what I can do about it. But there we go. The circuit outpost should have a little bit more capacity now, and we'll just see how that goes later on. So go back to the main base, get resupplied by millions of bots, and then we're going to start working on the actual assembly of some of our stuff. So what I'm doing here is grabbing a bunch of rocket fuel. I'm having to do a bit of a weird dance with all the stuff in the chest, because I want to make sure that there's no empty slots, so that we carry on. But I can continue with the sort of fake fake filter system that I've got going on. But we're going to start putting in all the materials we need to build our satellite. Needs all sorts of random stuff, but none of it... this is the one that does require some space equipment. So yeah, we need 100 solar panels, 100 accumulators. I think it's 100 low density structures, 50 rocket fuel, and all sorts of other stuff as well. It gets very confusing. There's like 5 radars in there and stuff. It's weird. I'm also sorting out the chest for the rocket silo. Still misguided about the steel requirement, and I only realised that it doesn't need 3,000 steel once it actually crafts a rocket silo using only 1,000 steel. So yeah, that's just going to continue for now. Though funnily enough, it turns out that if the recipe did use 3,000 steel, then all the things required for it would exactly fill a steel chest. And that's a cool little thing that I noticed. Anyway, sorting out some modules and stuff. For some reason, some of the processing unit production did not have the modules it needed. Don't know why that was, but I fixed that now thanks to the feature that shows you visually how many modules are in everything. It's fantastic, really. It's something that I'm really benefiting from, knowing what modules something has without having to actually look at it, like open it up and have a look. So back over to the circuit outpost, checking up on it. The iron is now completely built up, and the copper has completely run down. So I guess our next job will be to do something there. Also, I'm just doing a little bit of maintenance here, filling in some bits that I couldn't do earlier, putting in some modules, and also making sure everything's got blue belts. And I'm also going to reinstate the defenses that I deconstructed to make room for my new developments. So we'll put all that back in. Pretty much as it was before. I think we've got the same numbers of everything as before, just so I don't have to mess about with ammo and things like that. So that's all good apart from the whole copper thing. I think what we need to do is have a third train coming from Mega Copper 1. And I think in order to do that, we're going to have to go to Mega Copper 1 and upgrade it. Give it a bunch more miners, which will make it more of a target for biters. So we'll just have to go up there, possibly have like half an episode there, just sorting things out. But anyway, I'm grabbing the remaining low density structures that I need, having to really mess about with all the stacks and stuff to keep the fake filtering going. But we get all the materials we need, and there is the satellite. So I'll stick it in that chest for now, and when the time comes to launch the rocket, we'll stick that in and do that. By the way, when I launch the rocket, I'm not just going to finish. It's well, at the moment, I think the way it's going to work once the 0.13 update comes out is that you're going to be launching multiple rockets anyway. So launching a rocket wouldn't mark the end of a series, and there's now a continue button, so that is a very good sign of that. I did consider doing another fake finale, but I think I might be pushing it a bit too far, tricking you twice, so I'll leave that. But yeah, I've just grabbed some electric engines from the Mega Train because the pipe belt wasn't working before and there weren't any engines being produced. We've got a bit of a shortage, so I've had to steal it all from the Mega Train for now, and that's what we'll use to make the rocket silo. Now, while I'm on my way back, I've spotted that the Iron Outpost 1 had a couple of miners run out, and the belts were starting to look a little bit thin. So I finally put down the miners, on the last bit of it. It was a bit of a momentous occasion, really, because it marks the beginning of the end for this outpost. And this one's I think this is like the longest running mining outpost ever. This was around since like before I had a proper rail system. There was just a train that hopped between that and the smeltery. So it's been there a long time, and very soon its time will end. But anyway, we're putting in the materials now for the rocket silo. We've got everything that we need, so now we just have to put it all in. And because I think that it needs 3,000 steel, it takes quite a while for the inserter to do its so I help it along by manually moving some over. And once we get that, we'll build it, we'll plonk it down, and we'll finish up there. And next episode we will start setting up an automated system for launching a rocket. And I think at that point we'll go back to the midpoint, because we can just leave that running, and it'll all go fine. We might hear the alarm when it goes off, so that we can come back and sort it out. But anyway, there it is. And I'll just decide where to plonk it down. I'm going to leave a bit of room for some storage tests in between the assemblers and it. We'll power it, and we will finish there, and start hooking it all up next episode. So I shall go back to the middle and say goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.